So at this point, it's getting pretty late at night, and I have to get up pretty early next morning for commute. So yeah, if I was not at 4 at this time, I would have I would have called it quits. But you know, I knew I had to see this league through. I was on a hot streak. Got to see that through and see where that leads you against the Tunneling Cat. Who's won a lot of trophies on Magic Online. So, yeah, decent hand. I think 5 lands, but 1 cycler. So, pretty comfortable with that. Some early interaction. Again, a borderline, but again, having a cycler, I think, makes it just good enough, and having that earlier turn interaction. So I would never counter the Grazer because it's, I love seeing Grazer because it's literally not doing anything. They can't block Haktos, and it's just putting a land from their hand into play. It speeds them up, but doesn't give them land, so I never counter that. Yeah, so that can just sit there. Yawgmoth. So I didn't know this was, I thought this was some weird, like, Sultai Titan deck before that came down, but yeah, that's, so yeah, the obvious thing here is get rid of the mana producer. Again, I'm really noticing a lot of these games, these players get really low on cards in hand, and I feel like, again, I've kind of moved to more neutral on everything, not pure lockout ever since the Haktos version came, but it just seems like, attacking lack of resources in terms of cards in hand is a very real, like, angle, consideration when you're thinking about how to build towards a victory. And obviously we've seen that a lot, and it's interesting because obviously the value of Inquisition in the deck was to attack cards in hand, but the problem with Inquisition is when opponents had 2 or 3 lands in hand, often they just wouldn't have anything to Inquisition. So all that is to say, I think it's important to keep thinking about attacking hand resources with this deck, and keeping that in mind, as we saw in the last few games of destroying threats when they're low on cards in hand. But again, I think that does. I still think on balance, even though you would think Inquisition might be better if we care more about, if cards in hand is a more finite resource for them, and Reprieve is less good because they keep that card in hand. I think in a weird way, Reprieve still works better in a world where the opponent has less hand resources. I'm gonna have to think about that one, but anyways. So yeah, why did I not? Yeah, good question. Why did I not cast Haktos there? Okay, so again, I think this was getting pretty late at night. I was really being careful with my plays because 5-0 means a lot to me. But so I think the reason I didn't land it was I was just afraid of a Grist landing on 3 and killing it, which seemed like a real corner case because I didn't even know if they had Grist. So yeah, I don't know. I think I was just being cute again. So I think in this case it worked out reasonably because I was able to counter the endurance. I mean, I'll be honest, I did not foresee them being ready to play an endurance. So that didn't enter into my thought process at all. I was just lucky. But yeah. I mean, here's where Reprieve countering the Grist. Now I'm forced to basically just cast Haktos. Lands on 3, so yeah, so I had the bad luck of Grist killing me. So I'm actually in a pretty bad position now because they have the mana, they have the Grist, got a bigger Yawgmoth. Yeah, Haktos is gone. Haktos thankfully does not land, so we just, yeah, so I cast Haktos, bolted the land just to keep them low on resources. I mean, I knew I didn't have, yeah, it's 16, so a bolt wouldn't have been enough to kill them after 2 Haktos hits. That's why I just used it on mana. And I was high enough on life to, yeah, erase them. So yeah, so now I'm just racing. Again, yeah, bad luck with the numbers. Like, my Haktos dies again. But luckily I have another one. Again, it's looking like they're catching up in the race, but... I mean, Haktos are just so damn good. Like, even after 2 of them dying, the 3rd one is enough to outrace that army. Yeah, so I think the smartest thing here was to not fetch that, because, so I did do the math. It's like they have 6 power, they'll get 1 more power with that additional insect from Grist. So, I mean, if this was not a match for the 5-0, and I was being more loose, I definitely might have just fetched, and that would have cost you the game. So, again, 0 cards in hand, so... I knew they were 1 away from doing the whole life loss with Grist, so no. Very, very fortunate. I had the wherewithal to not fetch that land. Yeah, so yeah, very, very close game. Again, I think this is a very illustrative game to show just how resilient and powerful this deck is. Haktos, which is not great in this matchup, as you can clearly see, you know, it got unlucky, but kind of to be expected against this deck, with basically landing on the wrong number twice. But you know, again, that combination of just enough land destruction, you know, being able to draw the 3rd one, and just, you know, the power of Haktos, just being able to barely outrace the opponent. Again, you know, in a game where a lot went wrong, we're still able to win by 1 life, and that's, you know, those are the types of games that give you kind of the faith that, you know, this deck is going to, you know, win a Modern Challenge someday. So, yeah, game 1 in the books.